friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Amanda. So in today's video, I'm going to be using my Ninja Foodi Grill XL to be making some things for y'all. We've had it for maybe about a year. We really love it. Now this video is not sponsored or anything like that, but it's just a fun appliance that I've really enjoyed using and I wanted to share with y'all. We're going to use the air fryer function, the bake function, as well as the grilling function. So I'm really excited to show y'all these recipes. Our family really enjoyed them, so I think that you will too. Now, if you're coming over and you're new to my channel, I would love to have you hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family. I do all kinds of what's for dinners, you know, recipes. It's really all about the food here. So if that sounds good to you, I'd love to have you here. And if you're excited to get into these recipes, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and let's go ahead and get into the video. So let's get started on our air fryer chicken patties. And this recipe is super simple and it was really good. It was a crowd pleaser. Everyone enjoyed it. We've got 2 cans of chunk white chicken. I used like the less sodium one. 2 eggs, some Parmesan cheese, breadcrumbs, some spices that are going to go in here. Now it called for some fresh dill and scallion and things like that. I didn't have that, so I just added dried chives and dried dill. I bet if you use fresh, like, you know, stuff like that, it would be even better because like just the freshness of those herbs and stuff. And I also added just a little bit of Dijon mustard in there. Now we're just going to get these mixed together. Well, I did end up having to add just a little more breadcrumbs to it to get it to hold together. So the breadcrumbs I used were actually gluten-free, so that may have been why I had that issue. And so just kind of be mindful of that. If they're not holding together for you, add you a little bit more breadcrumbs and see if that does it for you. Now I've just got some extra breadcrumbs in this container here, and we're just going to pat our patties out and then kind of dunk them in that and make sure they're coated with that so you get that crispy outside texture. And then just set them to the side, and we're going to repeat that with all these. Like I said, this was so easy, and you could really use this recipe for, you know, tuna or salmon or whatever you'd like to do. And I was really curious to see how these would turn out in an air fryer because obviously that eliminates a lot of that extra oil when you like pan fry these patties. And they turned out so well, like crispy. I was really excited because, you know, anytime you can, you know, make something a little healthier like that, it's always kind of handy. And the air fryer, I think, is just such a fun, you know, thing to use anyways. And I'm just really loving that Ninja Foodi Grill. I think it's the Ninja Foodi Grill XL. But it is so handy, and I've used it so many different times, and we just love it. I love that you can just lift that lid off and check on your stuff, you know, and I feel like that's a little bit easier than some things. But we're just going to go ahead and set this to 375 degrees, and we're going to let it preheat. Once it's preheated, I'm just going to spray the basket with some avocado oil. And then we're going to go ahead and put our patties in there, and we'll spray our patties on the top just to ensure they get good and crispy too. And you do want to flip these midway through, and that way, you know, they'll get kind of even cooking on each side. But y'all, these turned out so very good. Like, we'll definitely make these again, and it was so easy to use that canned chicken. So it's a great kind of pantry meal, because if you keep canned chicken in your pantry, then it's a really great easy meal to make with those ingredients. So definitely recommend this. It was really good. Now the recipe also gave like a garlic aioli recipe, which I'm sure would be really good. However, I knew that it'd probably only be me and my daughter that ate that, and we decided just to not make that this night because I just thought, well, you know, I don't think that it would make or break it for us, but it would be really good if like your whole family would enjoy that. Then that would probably be a really tasty thing to serve with it too. And it kind of depends on what kind of side items you're serving with it too. We were just doing just quick and easy, some instant mashed potatoes and some of those Lesueur peas that I love. Those are like the only peas I like to eat. They just have a much better flavor to me. So I didn't feel like it would really go the best with that either. So I really liked the way we served it. But definitely make that aioli if that's something you'd be interested in. And actually, if you do end up, you know, trying that, let me know how that is, because I've never made an aioli or anything like that too. So, but here they all are, nice and crispy. And here's our finished plate. This was so very good and picky eater approved, because my husband and my youngest are kind of picky eaters and they love these. So definitely recommend it. So next up we have our grilled steak with roasted potatoes and broccoli. So the first thing we're going to do is get started on our marinade. We're going to add in some sugar, onion, dry mustard, rosemary, ginger, ground pepper, lemon juice, some oil, garlic, soy sauce, apple cider vinegar. And of course you can add any salt that you'd like to add. I may have added just a little bit to this. I can't remember. I try not to go too heavy, you know, obviously on the salt, but sometimes I do add in a little bit. Now this recipe actually comes from Sam the Cooking Guy. It's a rosemary soy marinade, and it is so good. If you haven't checked out his channel, I'll have it linked below too. He's always, you know, got so many yummy things that he makes, and I think he's got like some restaurants and everything, so it's really neat. But this marinade is so delicious. We've used it multiple times because it's so good. So I definitely recommend that. Now, once we've got that all good and mixed up, we're just going to go ahead and put our steaks in here and let those marinate. Now, you know, you need to do it at least 2 hours, but, you know, you can do it for, you know, even overnight. You know, the longer you let it sit, the more the flavor is kind of going to soak into that meat and stuff. So I definitely recommend overnight if you can, but probably at least, you know, 4, 6, 8 hours if you can't, you know, be good. I also tried to kind of flip it every so often in the refrigerator. So like, you know, that way that it kind of gets, you know, because that bottom part kind of has more marinade. So I flip it every so often and stuff like that. Now we're going to get started on our veggies. I just got some potatoes here. I cut into really small pieces, and we're going to use that Kinder seasoning there on it, and then get those all good and mixed together. And we're going to also get some broccoli going too. Just be real careful with the potatoes and make sure you cut them really small so they get done at the same time, or maybe even give them a little bit of cooking time beforehand. That way they can get done at the same time as your other veggies. So now we're getting our Ninja started. We're just hitting the grill button. I'm going to go on high, and then I'm also going to select however many minutes I want. So it's going to depend on how done you want it, and of course you can kind of keep an eye on it and check it. I chose 8 minutes. Again, it preheats, and then once it preheats, you're ready to add the food, and you'll hear that nice sizzle when you put everything down. And this actually does make the grill marks on food, which is kind of cool too. It doesn't always do it perfectly. You'll have some areas that's not so, you know, strong or something like that. But I think it's pretty cool that an indoor grill, you know, like, we've really been impressed with the way this works, and I've been so glad to have it. It's been such a handy tool. And of course, this video is not sponsored by Ninja, you know, that they don't even know who I am, but I just really enjoyed this, and I thought that it'd be fun to share a video based on this with y'all so that you could kind of see you know, how it works and that type of thing, in case you were thinking about getting one. And if you have one, let me know what all you like to make in yours down below in the comments too, because I am always looking for new ideas. But about midway through, you just want to flip your steaks over. And it looks like a while ago that I bumped this up to 10 minutes instead of the 8 that I did originally. So again, it's very easy to change that. And that way you can kind of do it to your liking, you know, to however you like your steak. So, and you can always cook it a little longer. So you can't, you know, go backwards in cooking. So just err on the side of caution and always add more if you need it. But this was so good. Those steaks turned out awesome with that marinade and in that grill. So we love this meal. It's so, so tasty. And of course, we had to try hamburgers on the Foodie Grill as well. We definitely wanted to see how those turned out. I'm also going to be roasting some veggies. We've got some asparagus, and we're also going to do some carrots. And we're going to roast those in the oven. Again, usually I roast them, you know, around 400, 425, somewhere in that area. And then, you know, just until they're done to your liking. That could be, you know, 10 or 15 minutes. It could be 25, 30. It really depends on which veggies you choose and, you know, how done you'd like them to be. So just kind of keep an eye on them, check on them. They're usually not going to get, you know, too overdone as long as you check on them after, you know, 10 or 15 minutes, kind of see where they're at. So now, do y'all love roasted veggies as much as me? If so, let me know what your favorite roasted veggie is to put in the oven like that. I just think it, you know, makes them taste different. It's nice to fix veggies different ways sometimes, kind of experiment a little. And of course, just put whatever, you know, oil, seasonings you'd like to on that, and then get that ready to go in the oven. We're going to go ahead and preheat our grill so that that's ready to go for our hamburgers. I'm just drizzling some olive oil here, and I want to use this Tuscan garlic tones, which I can't seem to find that anymore. I'm so disappointed because that was really, really good. That was like one of my favorite seasonings to use on veggies, and I think that I'm getting really close to being out, so that's disappointing. But I always hate it when you find something like that you like and then they discontinue it or something like that. It's always so frustrating. But we're going to get those in the oven, and then we're going to go back and get our hamburgers on the grill. And you know, this fits usually about 6, you know, decent, you know, hamburgers. That's another thing I really like about this, is that I feel like you can cook it so much quicker than you can on the stove. Because like I do sometimes, like, you know, pan fry patties, but you can literally cook 6 at one time. So it's also great for bulk cooking, because like You can do, you know, batches of 6, and then, you know, keep doing those until you use up all your meat. You could freeze your, you know, patties if you like to. Also, if you want to make them bigger, you probably would only get about 4 or 5 in there. It depends on how, you know, what size patties you like to make. And I just sprinkled a little bit of that seasoning on there. And I set my timer for 10 minutes, so I'm going to flip it about halfway through. I didn't quite make it there. It was a little less than, a little over halfway through. But you can see those grill marks on there, that sizzling when, you know, they get flipped. And then we're going to just cook it the rest of the way. Again, this is a situation where cook to your, you know, your doneness that you like. You can always check the temperature of them, which I highly recommend you do, and especially if you're wanting something well done. And then, you know, you can kind of get an idea of how long it might take, because, you know, depending on how thick your patties are and things like that, you may have different amounts. And I actually ended up upping the time just a little bit on those just to make sure they got really good and done. And I checked them with my digital thermometer. I highly recommend you have one of those. If you don't, they are so handy, especially like when you cook chicken and want to make sure it gets done. So I just love my thermometer. I use it all the time. And so we've got our hamburgers all done, our veggies all done. We're going to toast up some buns, just broil them under the broiler in the oven, you know, with a little bit of butter on them. That makes quick work of getting several of them done at one time. But always make sure you keep an eye on them under the broiler, because they can get burnt real fast. And so I've just got some cheese on there, some mayonnaise. I may have had a tomato under there, I can't remember. And this was delicious, so good. So now we're going to make some deep dish cookie bowls. We're going to use the baking function of the Ninja Foodi Grill. So that was fun to try that out. I've got some flour in here, and I'm adding a little bit of baking soda to that, just mixing that together, and we'll set that to the side and get kind of like our wet ingredients. So in another bowl, I've got some brown sugar. I'm adding just a little bit of vanilla. We're going to whisk the brown sugar and melted butter together and get that all combined. Then we'll add in our egg yolks. And I actually doubled this recipe, so I've used 2 egg yolks instead of 1. The main recipe only made 2 little cookie bowls, and I wanted to at least make 4. That way we could all kind of try it, since there's 5 of us. My husband and I just ended up splitting one. We weren't really wanting anything too sweet that day. But I did want to try these because it seemed like such a fun idea to make, especially like in the little ramekins and everything. We're going to go ahead and add back our flour and get that in there, and then get that combined. We'll also add in our chocolate chips after that. I did go a hair short on the chocolate chips. I'm not real big on just having just tons of chocolate chips in there, and I know my daughter doesn't like having tons either. And so I kind of went just a little bit less than what it called for. I think it was like a total of half a cup for both recipes, and I put in just a little less than a half a cup. So again, you can change this up and use all kinds of different, you know, flavored chips, and maybe add some nuts, you know, whatever you'd like to do. And I actually just used a larger cookie scoop to scoop in a scoop in each ramekin. I'm using 4 8-ounce ramekins. And then, and I'll have these linked below in case you need to get your ramekins. And then I went ahead and used a smaller scoop, because I could tell I wanted to make sure that I got this as even as possible, just so that they would cook, you know, evenly. So I just placed, you know, a scoop in each, and I think I ended up being able to do 2 scoops in each. And it came out completely even, and that way I knew I had the same amount in each one, and it's a lot easier than eyeballing it and kind of just guesstimating. And we're just going to pat these into the bottoms of the cups. I used a glove because I thought that would not let it kind of stick to my hands, and it would, you know, and that worked really well too. You could also use a Ziploc bag, or maybe, you know, butter your hands or oil your hands so it doesn't stick to your hands and everything. So once we get all these evenly, you know, in the bottoms of the cups, we're actually going to be ready to put them in the grill. Of course, we're going to be using the baking function. We'll preheat that. I actually preheat it to 325 degrees. I should have done 300. I totally forgot that, because it being kind of like a convection oven essentially, that I did need to adjust the temperature. So the tops got a little browner quicker than I would have liked. So I just kind of kept a really close eye on it. So I would probably do 300 degrees and start out at 18 minutes and check it maybe around 15 and see how it's doing. But once it's preheated, we're just going to add these in here. This is just the kind of the baking dish that comes in it, and we're just going to place those in there and they'll be ready to go. And of course the instructions give you like different times that if you want it like more, you know, underbaked, semi-baked, you know, almost fully baked, that kind of thing. I think ours was pretty much fully baked by the time it got done. And once these are done, you want to let them sit for just a minute, and then make sure, of course, you use like oven mitts to remove them from your pan, and serve them with some nice, you know, vanilla ice cream on top. You do want them to still be warm when you have the ice cream on there. But this was a really yummy, easy dessert, and it was just fun to experiment with another, you know, function on that machine. It actually even has a dehydrate function too, so lots of neat things you can do with it. But I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. If you have, I'd appreciate it if you'd give me a thumbs up. I'm sorry for being so absent lately. I'm going to try not to do that ever again. Things have been just a little overwhelming for me. My husband's been having some health issues. I posted about that in my community tab. I'll definitely keep y'all updated there about that situation. But I appreciate your prayers and everything too. But thank y'all again. I hope you have a blessed day wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.